I'm Tom Grossi, a New York City comedian and diehard Green Bay Packers fan for almost 20 years.
In the end zone, it is caught for the win. Richard Rodgers with a walk-off touchdown. A game ender for the Packers.
In 2015, I created a podcast where each week I talk to fans from opposing teams to share their story and to get yelled at for about an hour for being a Packers fan. Last year, I met amazing people and went to amazing places. And this year, I'm ready to do it all over again.
Make no mistake about it, I will be remembered as a Packer.
Enjoy the show. Grossi Posse Packer Nation, welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't need to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. And happy holidays to everybody watching, as a wonderful Christmas gift has been given to Packer fans everywhere, and that is not only a 38-25 victory over the Minnesota Vikings, but it is also knocking the Minnesota Vikings out of playoff contention, and we are one game away from running the table. Now, 5 weeks ago, Aaron Rodgers said, I think we could run the table. And there was some hesitation on behalf of a lot of Packers fans, including myself, like, I don't know if we can run the table. Our defense is hurt. Our offense isn't looking so great. And here we are 5 weeks later, and we are officially running the table. Exciting stuff. But let's break down the game, because this was a great game for Packers fans, one that they were in control of for 99% of the game. So Aaron Rodgers is really making a case for MVP. And, he's in there. I think Tom Brady is definitely making a case for it too. Matt Ryan, you can argue as well. He's having a great season. Ezekiel Elliott, I would put more of as like offensive rookie of the year. I don't know about Dak Prescott, considering he has been struggling as of late for the past couple of games. Of course, he looked really good last week. So he's definitely in there. Jordy Nelson's also in there for comeback player of the year. So I would not be surprised if Rodgers' name is, if they are able to actually run the table and win out, I think you have to give him the MVP. And that's trying to be unbiased as possible. But again, I know the amazing things that people like Brady are doing, but his name is definitely in there. But he goes 28 for 38, 347 yards, 4 TDs, and a rushing TD. A hell of a game. They bring Brett Hundley in with about 4 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. And Rodgers is just playing on another level right now. And to think that he would have had 2 more TDs last week and another TD this week if Devontae Adams didn't drop now 3 touchdowns in the past 2 weeks. It was his birthday today. He did have a big touchdown. However, he dropped one in the back of the end zone. And he's got to get that fixed before that becomes a recurring issue. And I know that was an issue last year, and one that he even came out and said that he got in his own head. So hopefully he's able to kind of move past those drops, because we're going to need him for a playoff push. Because Randall Cobb, again, was hurt, didn't even suit up for today's game. But that didn't stop Jordy Nelson, who went 9 for 154 and 2 TDs. An amazing game for Jordy Nelson. And one that was very good for me fantasy-wise, and that I am in the championship of one of them, and it's looking good for me to win. I will let you know next week. But looking good so far. Geronimo Allison, another big game, 4 for 66. He looked really great as well. Ty Montgomery, he struggled a little bit to find some running lanes, but you know what? The Packers were definitely a pass-first offense today, and against a very good Vikings defense, they looked damn good. The one thing that gave me a little bit of concern is speaking of defense, is our defense. We did get a strip sack. Kenny Clark also got a botch snap fumble, but our secondary really needs to pick things up. Randall got benched last week, and that was something that we didn't really talk about on the show, but he didn't look that great today. Rollins didn't look that great today. Rollins running into Clinton Dix and giving up a huge day and huge touchdown to Thielen, who tore up our secondary. He was 12 for 202 and 2 TDs. So if you ever had him on fantasy today, you were rocking and rolling with that. Bradford even throws the ball 50 times, 382 yards, 3 TDs. We got to him a couple times, but overall, I mean, we are going to need our secondary to step it up if we're going to go anywhere in the playoffs. But right now, I think this team with this offense, the way that they're playing, they can beat any team in the NFL. And I mean that. And the only thing that I think is stopping us is our secondary. So if that can somehow get patched up, if that can be fixed, and I look at divisional games differently than the other games that are played throughout the year, because divisional games are always a little bit tighter, or always a little bit closer. Obviously not the case today, but for example, with the Bears last week, I see that as the Bears team that, has been struggling as of late, but, they always play the Packers really well. The Vikings usually play the Packers well. And I'm expecting a battle next week in Detroit, and I cannot be more excited for it. Also, in kind of some other news around the league, the Browns got their first win! Congrats, which means that the Lions still remain the only 0-16 team in history, which just gives me a good sort of feeling on the inside. Also, the Seahawks lost, which was absolutely phenomenal. Even if it has no impact on the playoff whatsoever, I don't care. I hate the Seahawks. But the Falcons also clinched a playoff spot today as well. You also, because the Packers won today, the Lions and Cowboys matchup really does not matter. If I'm not mistaken, it's actually would be beneficial at this point if the Lions won over the Cowboys, if I'm not mistaken, because the only reason that would matter is because if for some reason if the Packers lose next week, they would have the strength of they have the strength of schedule over Tampa Bay, and it's getting into a lot of different technical, complicated things, and I honestly don't care because we're gonna run the table. So I'm just really looking forward to next week. It's gonna be a hell of a game. I would not be surprised if it gets flexed into Sunday night, but this is. I said this last week that this seemed like a team of destiny. This reminded me a lot of the 2010 team, and I'm starting to get that feeling again. Rodgers is getting hot at the right time. We didn't really have a running game going into the playoffs 2010. James Starks emerged in the playoffs. I think that could be Ty Montgomery this year. So, I mean, if we make it into the playoffs, I don't think anybody wants to play the Packers right now. And like I said, I think the one Achilles heel that we have is our secondary. But look out. I'm excited. I'm excited watching this team again, and it's been a hell of a season, and I've enjoyed sharing it with you. It's been phenomenal. And of course, the main thing that the Packers won is, I posted another picture of my dog and my puppy in a jersey. This is now 5-0. The puppy's 5-0. This is not a fluke anymore. Obviously, the dog has some magical abilities. The jersey has some magical abilities, and it's win the Packers football games. I mean, I'm not going to say you're welcome, but you're welcome. So I'm going to do that next week. We're going to have to do something special for next week, because if the Packers do run the table, I mean, this is going to be nuts. This is going to be an incredible turnaround. I think they're going to be having Rodgers for MVP, and listen, we just got to get into the dance. That's definitely it. But I want to wish everybody who's watching a very happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas. This is being recorded on Christmas Eve. I took time away because I wanted to get this out, and I will see you next week when we'll talk to the Lions fan. Should be a juicy interview, so that will always be available on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Music, Packcast, Packast. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com, TomGrossi Comedy, or Tom Grossi Comedy on Twitter. Let me know what you think. Are you as excited as I am? We are running the table, people. Running the table, and we kicked the Vikings out. Their plane couldn't even get a touchdown when it came to landing in Appleton in Wisconsin. And it was just, I'm just so happy, because if I win, or the Packers win next week, then that means that I have also won the bet with Gregory Daniels, and that means he has to wear a Packers jersey and talk about how much he loves the Packers. And I can't wait for that. So highly, highly looking forward to that. Thank you so much for watching. Happy holidays, everybody. Packers are running the table, folks. And as always, go Pack, go.